actually have just been talking to a client sitting in that very seat you're in who realised that earlier than 18 that he had different attractions to his friends, and it gave him the feeling of being, well, different, so he felt a bit alienated, and I think that's a common, quite a common experience. And also, as he grew up between 18 and 22 or 21 or whatever it was, he felt, distanced from people, didn't make as many friends, and consequently, I think, was quite depressed. Well, had certainly depressed feelings. I don't want to diagnose someone as being depressed just because they don't fit in. But it is alienating and very difficult then to open up and tell people, because if you tell people you're homosexual, puffed or gay, queer, all those words that are used, they're denigrating his sense of being. So it is quite a difficult realisation and coming to accept that. Well, it can bring up that thought of, I don't fit in, I don't belong, which would create the sense of them not being part of the world. So we've just seen the vote in Parliament that has been roundly defeated to equalise the Marriage Act for homosexuals. And as that woman who was interviewed later on that evening, she was crying because she realised her son, or child, didn't say son, but her child, was not being fairly treated. He was a minority. So it's like being from another country, it's like being someone who doesn't have any money, it's like someone who doesn't have any, maybe has a physical disability, a mental disability. These people are marginalised, and for people who are marginalised, they find it difficult to study. They get, it's a difficult situation, I think. You could say that's an ongoing trauma. It's repeated. As Eve Sedgwick-Kofsky says, I've got the quote here somewhere, and I'm not going to quote it exactly, but for a gay person, they are continually having to come out. Straight people never say, oh, by the way, I'm heterosexual. Gay people have to say, oh, I'm sorry, I'm gay, or when a girl comes onto them, perhaps if it's a guy. The only time that would happen for a straight man is if you went to a gay bar, and he'd have to say, oh no, I'm not really gay, sorry, So, and for many gay people, they may be out to their family, they may be out to their partner, they may be out to their friends, they may not be out to their work, they may not be out to their bank, because they're never sure where they're going to have a discrimination. So that's an ongoing traumatic situation for many people. And how would that affect the relationship? Well, it closes you down. It closes the person down if they feel they can't be true, can't be authentic, can't be real. And that makes their relationship inevitably not as close as perhaps... Now, yes, does it happen to all gay people, you ask? No. Some gay people probably, if their mothers and fathers completely embrace that, and that may set them up to be able to accept the slings and shots from the public more easily. Well, the challenge is that you won't like me. If I tell you what's really going on for me, and this of course can go on for everyone. If I don't tell you what I really want, and I don't reveal my true beliefs and ideas, the connection is not strong. But if I do tell you, the fear is you won't like me. The experiences later on would be, I imagine, that they wouldn't have strong connections with people. They would remain isolated. They may then feel disgruntled and sad and very unhappy with their life because they've not been able to perhaps participate as easily as other people. So that can be quite devastating for them. And of course, as we know, many people take their life, many gay people take their life because the pressure is so great, or the the sadness is so great. They can't see their way out of it. So that's why I was shouting at the television last night when I noticed that the bill hadn't gone through, because they just don't get it. And that, I can't think of the guy's name now, but the Liberal Secretary, Senator, I can't remember should we find out his name? But anyway, he then said, what will the next thing be? 3 people wanting to get married, as if that would be a terrible thing, I have to think. But then he said, animals, are we going to, and it's just absurd. Now, any person around about 16, 17 or 18 that's hearing that, how are they going to feel? I'm never going to be able to fit in. I will never be part of the society. So they may turn to, what do you think? Drugs, alcohol, repeated sexual relationships, moving in and out very quickly of relationships, none of which in themselves are necessarily bad, but overuse of alcohol or drugs or sex or whatever could be deemed as being, in the end, quite unsatisfactory. If you've got 2 men living together or 2 women living together, I think there would be a different dynamic. There aren't, as far as I know, many studies to show what that difference is or how that plays out. But there is, I notice in the clients that I see, a somewhat greater degree of, not competition so much between 2 guys, but it might be they have to adapt differently to how they're going to live together because of their particular ideas about how to live in the world. I'm kind of slightly saying that in a confused way. I think every relationship would have these dynamics they have to deal with. And they're just different dynamics for the heterosexual as for the homosexual. Homosexuals, of course, also have this kind of, maybe I hesitate to say it, but maybe an added layer of concern about, is this okay? Because it's still legally, they may have all the rights of superannuation and stuff, but they're not absolutely accepted into society as equal. That's why the Marriage Act is really important. Not that I ever want to get married, and many people don't, straight and gay, but the right to get married is the position, I think.
So what would be some of the challenges if you're gay to find a partner?
I believe these days you get onto Grindr and you'd have no trouble.
Okay.
I don't think there is the trouble. I mean, I'm trying to go back to my day. I know people who have got long-term, very successful relationships who met in a toilet, and I know people who still go to a toilet to meet people years later. They're still doing the same thing. So, the chances of meeting someone, I think it's the same. Go to the art gallery if you are interested in painting. Go to music if you're interested in music. These days, I think you'd meet people anywhere. I'm hoping that's the case anyway for most people.